It's time once again to go racing.
The pressure is really on now.
And it's pole position.
And it's pedal to the metal. Go, go, go!
Welcome everybody to PSGL PC F2 tier round 7 for the Austrian Grand Prix. Now we got a couple of new voices in the commentary box for you here today, as well as a few new drivers out there on track. My name is Jacob Hancock, also known as Aladar. I will be your lead commentator for today, and joining me in the commentary box as well as manning the cameras will be FB1 Will, how are you feeling about this race here today?
Hello everybody, I am so excited for this one. Great circuit. Austria, 36 laps when we get to the race, 4.318 kilometers each one of those. 3 DRS zones, plenty of overtaking. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Definitely one of my favorite tracks to watch racing at. I think Bahrain has to be my #1 favorite, but here in Austria, definitely a great track to watch. I know there's a fair few drivers that don't like driving the track so much because of track limits issues, particularly through turn 1, which can feel a bit too much like a lottery for some drivers' liking, but it does always lend itself to good racing, and as commentators, as people who watch every race rather than actually racing in them, that's exactly what we want to see.
Yeah, no, 100%. Some of the drivers coming out now, just looking at Jeffrey Richie in the Haas, and I guess it's a little bit forgiving in qualifying, with it being the shortest circuit, or one of the shortest circuits on the calendar. You've got plenty of opportunities, so if you do go off, if those track limits do catch you out, there are, of course, plenty of opportunities to come back into the pits, throw on a fresh set of boots, and give it another go. But it'll be exciting to see who comes out on top spot today. One driver I'll be looking out for definitely will be the Alpine of Tom Martinez. Absolutely flying in WR recently. Doing a pretty good job in PSGL as well. And of course, fellow Formula 1 YouTuber as well. So it'll be interesting to see how he gets on.
Absolutely, the YouTuber gang coming through there. But yeah, Tom Martinez yet to pick up his first podium of the season in F2, but he is kind of overdue for it, so hopefully for him, he'll be able to have a good one here today. Jeffrey Richie is one of our race winners thus far this season, and he has just started the first flying lap of this qualifying session. So why don't we take a look on board with the Haas driver if we can, as he heads now up the hill towards the braking zone of turn 3, getting it all turned in nicely, avoiding the curb on the exit to get the power down as smoothly as possible. Gets a little bit of a slipstream there from the McLaren of Dylan Warren for going back down the hill in towards turn 4. One of the hardest corners on the circuit. It just falls away from you. Very prone to understeer through there, but Jeffrey Richie managed that pretty well. The Dutchman looking like this is a relatively solid lap. It's definitely a clean lap so far. Whether it's fast or not, we'll have to wait and see. And of course, it is only the very beginning of qualifying. This is just a banker lap for him and for the rest of the drivers. But as banker laps go, this one looks pretty decent.
Yeah, agreed. Just the last 2 corners to go. 2 fast right-handers into the first one, using all the track he can. One last one to go. We're going to be careful with that little sausage cup on the inside. Gets through it nicely. DRS open. Full throttle to the line. Richie goes to the top. Of course, only time set so far, but 103.5 to beat. And quite a good lap initially there for the man P7 in the championship. Leon can't beat it in the Red Bull. 103.8 is what the best he can offer. And that's a multiple race winner this season. So, good first lap there from Richie.
Absolutely. I mean, those two as well, they are close in terms of the championship standings. They're close in terms of performance on track all the time. And I'm pretty sure they're pretty close in terms of friendship as well. So those guys definitely have a little bit of a friendly rivalry going. Antoine Desaluski going then to the top of the times. Antoine, newcomer to the league here in the Mercedes, relative newcomer at least, and the Frenchman currently sits atop the order ahead of Jeffrey Richie, Josh, now Norbert Jakab's just gone into 4th, then Neon, then you have Via Camper, who's managed a pretty solid lap time on mediums there, only 4 tenths off the pace in that Ferrari.
Yeah, Villacampa, want to keep an eye on as well. I remember watching him back in one of the WOR practice races right at the very beginning of the season, the beginning of the game cycle, and was absolutely rapid on that day. Did put it in the wall early on, but I think everyone was with the game in the state that it was, and the curb still very unforgiving currently. We've just let a new person go to the top. It's Can Akinci in the Aston Martin. The 103.4 goes marginally 0.04 of a second quicker than Disaluski. I have a feeling that will not be the quickest time we see today. They seem to be dropping as there we go. As I say that, John Evans goes even quicker, a 10th quicker, a 103.3 from the Mercedes man. Second race in the championship and doing very, very nicely so far.
Yeah, John Evans obviously sitting down in 14th place in the standings at the moment, but going to the top for the time being. Mercedes 1 and 3. Norbert Jakab actually just went across the line to set a second flying lap on the same set of tyres, and he managed to find improvement on his second straight lap around. So the Ferrari driver now up into 4th position. A few drivers yet to register lap times. I'm noticing Paris Burrell among them. That's the second place man in the championship at the moment, and he is on an absolute hot streak in these last few races. A first, a second, and a second in that order. He'd love to get it back, bring some symmetry by getting back to the very top step of the podium here today. But with 2 straight invalidations on his first 2 laps here in qualifying, that is not the way to get that started.
Yeah, indeed. Speaking of invalidations, Tom Martinez just done the exact same thing. Interestingly, looking at the Alpine driver on the medium compounder tyres. So, tyre strategy already coming into play. We'll see who else decides to opt for that strategy. Of course, if you end up in the top 10, you'll be starting on the compound that you qualified on. So, Martinez obviously confident there if he can get in the top 10 on those mediums. That'll put him in good stead for the race.
Most certainly will. Get Owned, another driver who is up there in the championship, currently sitting 4th. He's coming around the final corner for his home Grand Prix. The Austrian will cross the line, and his first lap in qualifying is a decent one. Up into 4th, he goes ahead of both his teammate Jeffrey Richie and Norbert Jakab there, who is now down into 5th. Get Owned up into 4th, couldn't quite crack the Mercedes and Chanakinchi at the very top, but that is still respectable for a banker lap time. Plenty of time left in this session, still over 10 minutes to go. But some of the drivers who don't have lap times on the board just yet, that's Christian Hausmann, Lewis Welch, Paris Burrell, Christian Sendel, Ruben Pedreño, and Tom Martinez. They're all going to start to sweat just a little bit more now if they keep on getting these invalidations coming.
Yeah, Pedreño just about to come across the lines at the fastest first sector. Wasn't so good in the middle sector. There was a bit of traffic there. Coming across the line now. Does this put him up in the P2 and very, very close? It's a good lap from the AlphaTauri man. A 103.382. Oh, just, what's that, 0.06 of a second off John Evans up at the top. Let's keep an eye on him for the rest of the session.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic lap there from Ruben Pedreño. He sits 5th in the overall championship standings at the moment, with a 3rd and a 4th in the last 2 races. He is also riding high lately, and he'd like to go one better and get at least a 2nd place, maybe even his first win of the season as well. Thus far, in the 6 races we have had 5 different race winners. Our only repeat race winner is Samuel Bean, who sits atop the championship at the moment. But he may not be able to do anything about that today, as he's currently down in 14th with his first attempt there in the Williams. Half a second off the pace for him.
Yeah, it's strange from Bean. I would have expected to be a little bit higher up at this stage. But a long way still to go. And of course, it's been one of the shortest tracks on the calendar. The gaps were going to be tiny anyway. So any little advantage that you can get will give you a massive boost up the grid. And Samuel Bean 14th, he won't be happy with that, but he's got time. Still just under 10 minutes left in the session to go. So plenty of laps still as he starts another one now. As we ride on board with the Williams coming round turn 1. Does he make that okay? Yes, no, ignore me. He's gone and invalidated it straight away. So Samuel Bean's qualifying session getting worse by the minute. He's still got time, as I said, though, 9.5 minutes. So he'll be able to throw on a fresh set of tyres probably and go for it once again.
Yeah, top 2 people in the championship, Samuel Bean and Paris Burrell, both struggling at the beginning of this qualifying session. Paris Burrell's just having to head back into the pit lane after continuing to invalidate every attempt he's been able to have a swing at so far. And that is one of the risks here in Austria, is just consistent invalidations. And when you do it the first 2-3 times in a session, it's frustrating, but you still have time. But you've got to make sure you don't let it frustrate you too much. You've got to keep your head, because quickly. If you get to another 3, you're getting really into like the last few minutes of qualifying, and that is when you need to have the license, the self-belief to really push the car around. And if you've been consistently getting those invalidations, you're not going to have that level of self-belief. As Oscar Villacampa just moved up into 6th place. He's just behind Joshua Kozani, who is there in 5th for McLaren.
Yeah, another thing we haven't spoken about yet is obviously the traffic. And I've mentioned the track being short, but with 20 cars, or 19 cars today, sorry, out there, we've just seen Christian Hausmann have to pull out of his last attempt. Just too much traffic in that middle sector, and if you catch it maybe up into the first couple of corners, you might be okay. You might even benefit from a bit of a tow, but in that middle sector, you pick up one car on the racing line, and that's your lap really done for. Just have a look at Villacampa now. I think this is probably an in lap for him. But yeah, that's more where I was expecting to see him. P6 at the moment, the Ferrari. Good lap at the moment. Still giving it some, despite this being a potential. Is he potentially going for it again? Let's see. Does he dive into the pits? No. This is going to become a lap as Akinki, goes to the top of 103.1. What can Villacampa do? Can he get close to that? Let's see. Goes very close. A 10th off P2 for the Ferrari man. Or 103.229 to put him on the front row next to Akinci.
Yeah, decent time there from Villacampa, particularly on the second run around. Samuel Beam just went and did the same as well. He found a lot of improvement again on his second run on the same set of tyres. That seems to be a bit of a trend here, as drivers are managing more than one lap in a row on that set of tyres and still finding the performance. As Tom Martinez now moving up into P4. That's a bit more like it then from the British driver in the Alpine. John Evans just crossed the line but wasn't able to improve, so he's been shuffled down from what was provisional pole just a few moments ago. He's now down in 5th, and with a mistake out of the first corner, he has invalidated again, so he is now a little bit more under the cosh than he was just a minute ago.
Yeah, another driver under pressure here is Neon. Of course, he was up there in the first runs, but he's now sat the slowest of the times on the board at the moment and invalidated this last lap as well. We are getting to crunch time here in Austria, so he's going to get a lap together at some point. Still, Burrell and Sendel yet to set a lap. Sendel's invalidated his current attempt already. Burrell, who I believe is on a lap in the number 24 AlphaTauri. So let's keep on board with this lap here. It's a little bit leisurely through turn number 3. But as DRS is open, once again, he's going to encounter a little bit of traffic, I think, at the rate he's going. And I think we might just see what I was speaking about earlier. Runs a little wide through 4 as well. Bit of opposite lock. It's not looking like a brilliant lap here from Burrell. But if it works as a banker, no, never mind, he's bailed out. Not happy with it. And Paris Burrell is going to have to go again. 6 minutes to go. There's still time. But that clock is running out. There's a Mercedes stopped. I wonder if has it gone off or is it just getting out of the way? I think it is just getting out of the way, so we're okay. Yeah. Can Akini looking really good at the moment on top. 103.150. That's the time to beat.
Yeah, Chan definitely having a great lap, great time of it. Sorry, here in qualifying so far. He was there in the first rotational lap times, and he's now right there in the second one as well. Currently with that provisional pole lap time, Antoine Zezoluski just managed to go up into 4th. Neon has got his first properly representative lap time on the board as he goes into what is now 7th. Because Ruben Pedreño has moved himself up into the top 3 there, taking a spot on the second row of the grid for the time being. Who's out there on a flying lap right now? Is Dylan Warren pushing? Yes, he is, and he's purple through the second sector of the lap. So let's keep an eye now on the McLaren driver as he gets around towards the final couple of corners. Got his first podium of the season last time out, and he'll be looking to do even better, but he invalidates by running wide in that final corner, and that would have been a good lap time. It wouldn't have been at the very top, but it would have got him a couple of positions at least. And that is going to be frustrating because, of course, invalidating your lap that late leads you to have the next lap following also invalidated. So you lose even more time by making that kind of mistake.
Yeah, that lap would have put him around the regions of Neon and Evans in P7, P8. So that's going to really hurt for Dylan Warren, who's currently sat back in 14th. A lot of work for him to do then if he starts the race there later on. A bit of a quiet track out at the moment, and that's giving advantage to the likes of Corby, Houseman, Burrell out there as well. But I think they're all on invalidated lap times. Burrell might be the only one. No, they're all invalidated. Ignore me. So now's the time to get a lap out while everybody's in the pits, and you've got a fairly clean and empty track where you won't get disrupted.
That's exactly what championship leader Samuel Bean is trying to do right now. His most recent lap time got him just about a tenth shy of Chanakinchi's current provisional pole lap time. So Samuel Bean will know that he can find that much more on this lap, but he actually was down on his previous best, only by half a tenth in that first sector. And of course, with such a short first sector at this circuit, it doesn't tend to be a massive indicator of how well the rest of the lap's going to go. Once he gets to the end of sector 2, that's where it's going to be really telling. Maybe a touch too much understeer there through turn 4, just drifted away from the apex ever so slightly in that Williams. And now really, really calm stuff. This, I think, is backed out. Either that or he's just got the calmest driving style I've ever seen. That seemed a bit more lively, though, through to turns 7 and 8. So let's see as he gets towards the end. Yeah, he's backing out of it. So Samuel Bean not happy with that. Tom Martinez is the next one on all out.
He was 8 tenths down, was Samuel Bean, but Martinez going purple in sector 2. This could be a lap to keep an eye on. Let's have a ride on board then with Tom 97. Formula 1 YouTuber, 2 corners to go, using all the track he can through turns number 9, does the same thing for turn 10, clips that sausage curve nicely, full throttle to the line. Where's this going to put the Alpine driver? P2, 103.2, not a bad lap there at all, on the front row at the moment, still 2 and a bit minutes to go, so plenty of time for drivers to improve, and I think we're about to see a very, very busy end to the session here.
Absolutely, we are. Tom Martinez and Samuel Bean looked to go on the opposite timing to everyone else. Samuel Bean had to head back into the pit lane, though, after that invalidation, and that lap time from Tom Martinez really stands him in good stead for the end of this qualifying session. The question is whether he wants to go again on this same set of tyres or not, because, of course, he's very likely to be starting the race on these tyres now. So if he wants to go again and have himself in the mix at the very end of this qualifying session, he is going to take a little bit of a hit when it comes to the first stint of the race.
Yeah, agreed. And Samuel Bean as well. Keep an eye on him. Came into the pits, might just have enough time to come back out and set one final lap, but it's going to be really tight for the championship leader. We'll have to keep an eye on that one. But we've got a few cars about to start their final flying laps now, and it's going to be very exciting to see how this qualifying session ends up.
Yeah, John Evans is currently the furthest forward car on a flying lap. So let's take a look at the Mercedes driver, who was right at the sharp end at the beginning of this qualifying session. He faded through the second phase, now into the third attempts for most of the drivers. And let's see whether John Evans can be the one to pull out a fantastic lap time. Not on this occasion, as he backs out entirely. Just behind him on the road is Jari Fitz, who is still pushing, I believe, in that Alfa Romeo as he rounds the final couple of corners. Turn 9, ever so difficult. Turn 10, really hard to avoid the track limits on the exit, but Jari manages to do so. He'll come across the line with a 103.453. Not good enough to get himself a spot in that top 10.
The top 18 drivers currently separated by just over half a second. This is really tight. One little mistake or one little advantage is going to mean a massive amount here. And Jari Fitz, the lap looked really good, but only good enough for 12th on the grid. Just shows how high the caliber is in this championship.
Yeah, Antoine Derzalewski just moved up into third position. Via Camp has invalidated his current attempt. So has Ruben Pedreño. So has Neon. These are some of our potential pole position challengers, and they're falling at the final hurdle right now with these invalidations. Chanakinchi is just starting his next lap. He managed to improve on that previous one, but he also invalidated. So it was all for naught. Oh, and he almost loses it. He does lose it through the first corner. Chanakinchi into the wall. And now his grip on pole position is vulnerable as he is retired and out of the session. Can any of the rest of the drivers here respond?
That could have been a very costly mistake for Akinci, but that's going to be hard to beat, so we'll have to wait and see what happens. There'll be a yellow in that first sector, but the drivers will not get penalised for going at normal racing speed, unlike modern Formula 1. So it shouldn't affect anyone else out there. Don't think we got a Monaco situation on our hands, but Tom Martinez can't improve. P2 for him, but if he stays there, I'm sure he'll be pretty happy with that one. Just having a look at Norberto, about to come through the final couple of corners in his Ferrari. Looks really nice there. Currently 16th for the Ferrari man. Can he improve on that? Goes across, goes up to 10th. Ooh. So not a bad improvement there from the number 24 Ferrari. Who else can we find on that purple in that final sector, though? So there is still time to be gained.
Samuel Bean, final corner, he invalidates as well. And he might have been on track to try and challenge Chanakinchi there. And all of a sudden, most of the drivers have invalidated their final attempts. And with that, Chanakinchi looks to have got away with one here.
Look for Pedreño. Look for Pedreño. Can he go to the top? No, not quite. Stays fifth.
Now it's just Louis Welch who crosses the line, and he goes into 5th himself and gets really very close to the top spot there. Less than a 10th separating him and Chanakinchi. He was the last hope for them to try and do something about the Turks' grip on pole, and no one was able to shift Chanakinchi despite his critical mistake at the end of qualifying. So Chanakinchi will be your pole sitter here in round 7, the Austrian Grand Prix of the PSGL PC F2 tier, with Tom Martinez starting a season best 2nd place alongside.
Yeah, what a qualifying session that was. Some big losers at the end of it as well. Samuel Bean, gotta say, is one of them. Race winner last time out, but only P7 at a track where there are overtaking opportunities, but he's got some work to do. Maybe he can find something on the strategy as well. But it's going to be a long day for the championship leader, that's for sure. Neon as well. A little bit surprised to see him down in 10th. John Evans was looking quick early on, but he's down in P12. So it's going to be a long day for some of the drivers out there.
I'm just hearing, apparently we're having a few issues with the frame rate of the stream. We can only apologize for that. Hopefully we'll be able to try and do something to get that sorted, but you have to bear with us for the time being. Hopefully that will clear itself up as we go along. But yeah, you can see just how close this whole field was. 6 drivers within that 1/10 of a second at the top. Chanakinchi, Tom Martinez, Antoine Desaluski, Oscar Villacampa, Lewis Welch, and Ruben Pedreño. And then your championship leader, Samuel Bean, down in 7th. With Sam Corby, his namesake, alongside him on the 4th row of the grid in 8th. Dylan Warren and Neon will round out the top 10. All of those drivers will, of course, have to start the race on a set of soft tyres. So here we are into the race session itself. It looks to me like you got relatively clear skies. A few clouds maybe in the background, so potentially we could see something drifting towards wet conditions at some point in this race, but we'll have to wait and see about that one. I don't mind a dry to wet race, but I do think that in general I prefer an all dry race. Tends to give some better spectacles in my view. With wet overtaking being as difficult as it is in F1 2021, I tend to prefer it if we can possibly keep the track all dry and ready for the racing. Just 10 seconds for the drivers to manage the final tweaks to their setups, to their fuel load, to their strategy before they get onto the grid for the formation lap itself. And once that formation lap begins, we'll get an idea of which tyres everyone is going to be running outside of that top 10, whether they're just going to stick with the softs or whether they're going to go for mediums instead. And indeed, not one of them goes for softs. We've got 7 drivers outside the top 10 on mediums and 2 of them on hards. The 2 on hards are John Evans in 12th and Christian Sendel, who really had a torrid qualifying, invalidation after invalidation for the German. He has to start all the way from the back in 19th.
Yeah, it's Sendel just really struggled in qualifying, didn't he? Kept invalidating those lap times, but this is a track where you can overtake if you've got, well, big cojones, as I think a fellow F1 YouTuber might say. Some good overtaking opportunities into turn 1, into turn 3, and into turn 4 as well. So let's keep an eye on this one. I'm looking at the stream now. I've just been trying to fix the issue. That I think it's improved somewhat. Hopefully it will do over the course of the race. Apologies to those viewing. Hopefully we still can bring you as smooth a quality stream as we possibly can.
Absolutely. And we'll do our best to narrate the action perfectly as well, so you guys will all be in the loop as to what's happening, even if we do get some stutters here and there. But of course, very short formation lap here in Austria, very short every kind of lap here in Austria. We will see 36 of them in this Grand Prix, and it's Chanakinchi who's going to be lining up on the front row of the grid. Actually, it's his teammate, Christian Sendel, at least his teammate for the day, Christian Sendel, who is at the back of the grid. So we have an Aston topping and tailing this grid order. It's quite a spread out field on this formation lap.
Indeed, and what can Tom Martinez do from the front row? As you said, his highest qualifying position of the year. Could he maybe fancy a chance into turn 1 or the run up into turn 3? Who knows? We're about to find out as the cars approach their grid positions. It's going to be a very exciting 36 laps. Make sure you stay tuned and let us know your predictions in the chat as well. We'll keep an eye on those as we go through the race. Final cars pulling into position now. We're ready to go racing here in Austria.
Absolutely, we are. The lights are now coming on. We wait for 5. Here they are. And we are underway. Quick fold now, straight at the beginning of this Austrian Grand Prix already. There's a Red Bull sideways in the background, but that's Chanakinchi, who is leading the way comfortably into turn 1. Tom Martinez couldn't challenge him, but there's cars all over the road just behind. It's Antoine Desaluski, who currently holds on to third, then Vierkamp and Lewis Welch. Those guys all in exactly the same order as they were before, but Sam Corby, he was the Red Bull having a really torrid start. He's lost out 6 positions already as we head through turn 3. Cars bumping each other a little bit through that corner as they try and battle for position. Samuel Bean trying to make up positions off of his start. He's managed to get 1 on his compatriot Ruben Pedreño, but Ruben sends it back up the inside here at turn 4. They make a little bit of contact. Samuel Bean not willing to give up this position whatsoever. Dylan Warren has the box seats for this one right now as they're still side by side through turn 6 and in towards turn 7. It's going to be Samuel Bean who takes the position away from Ruben Pedreño. Inside the top 5, it's all as you were.
Yeah, it was a perfect start for Akinci, wasn't it? Martinez couldn't do much, and poor starts, as you said, for Corbin. Houseman as well, who started all the way to the back of the field. Not too sure what happened to him. Potentially had a spin through turn 1, because he is lagging a fair way back now.
Yeah, long way off the back of the field. His race is pretty much run, barring any kind of redemption, safety car, something like that will have to help him out. But at the front, Chanakichi still leading the way from Tom Martinez, Antoine Desaluski, Oscar Vierkamp and Lewis Welch. All of them very close to one another right now, but not thinking about making any moves quite yet. Jari Fitz, though, he is thinking about a move as he sticks his nose up the inside of Neon and almost loses the car on the exit, and that's going to leave him very vulnerable to Norbert Jakab in the Ferrari. The Hungarian driving clean past the Dutchman on the run down towards turn 4. Jari Fitz will have another go at it, though. Both of these cars on medium tyres. No difference in compound. And it's a very fair fight as they will now be the next ones to go side by side through turn 6. Just in behind them, Jeffrey Richie and Sam Corby. They're doing the same thing, but it's Norbert Jakab who braves it around the outside and holds on to that position. Just ahead of them, Ruben Pedreño, and just has found a way to have another go at Samuel Bean in the middle sector. Not often you see that much overtaking in the middle sector of this lap. But a lot of cars giving it a go right now. Yeah,
Pedreño seemingly with quite a quick AlphaTauri behind him. Struggled a little bit at the end of qualifying. I was expecting to see him a little bit high up there, given his early pace, but has a quicker car than the championship leader at the moment and wants to take advantage of it. We've got a bit of a DRS train forming though, so it's going to be really challenging for him to make some headway here. We'll see. Can he make a move into turn 3? Not too close enough this time round, as Lewis Welch has a little bit of a wide moment there. Could that present an opportunity for any of these drivers? I think they may stay line astern for this lap round.
Yeah, a lot of these drivers, they're just going to be focusing now that the DRS is open, now that the DRS train has been initiated. A lot of these guys will be focusing on trying to farm up as much ERS as possible. That's someone off in the background. It's John Evans, and he's out of the race. John Evans lost it on the exit of turn 4 and has retired from the race. So after a promising qualifying to him, it's all gone awry, and he is out of this one. Paris Barrel and Gettoned are battling further down the order. Now Christian Sendel trying to take advantage of Gettoned. His home Grand Prix not going the way he would have liked. Started in 18th, now up into 17th, but he has damage, and he's heading into the pit lane. So a disastrous home Grand Prix start for Gettoned here.
Yeah, such a shame. I was expecting to see him a little bit higher up, but he struggled in qualifying in this race. Not going much better. And who's that? Yeah, Desaluski.
He's lost it. First corner on the exit, slippery traction zone, and it's Antoine Desaluski, the Frenchman. He leaves the session. He hasn't retired the car, but he's no longer in the session. Hopefully Antoine will be able to get back in and regain control of his car, but either way, he's going to be right down at the rear end of the order, now already into 16th.
Yeah, that is gutting for Desaluski, but look at the fight up at the front, because we've got a bit of a tasty battle forming here. Martinez just ebbing and flowing between that 3 to 5/10 gap between him and Tom Martinez. We could see a bit of a battle here. It's been a good lap for the Aston Martin driver this time round, though, and he's trying to pull a little bit of a gap out on the man in P2. But I don't think this one is quite over just yet, as it gets very, very dark all of a sudden around the Austria circuit. Could we perhaps be in store for a little bit of rain later on? That would make things very exciting, I think, as Louis Welch sets the fastest lap in P4 in the other Alpine.
Yeah, I actually got very confused by that because Camper, who was just ahead of him, set the fastest lap immediately before him. And his track lit up in purple, then it said at the top Louis Welch. But yeah, the two TF10 drivers, very similar lap times, but Louis Welch with the slightly faster one on that occasion. Chanakinchi is currently the conductor of this DRS train. And by the way, Tom Martinez just crested 100% battery charge in second position. That is fantastic ERS management from Tom Martinez in this race so far. And ERS management can be so critically important in F1 2021. So the fact that Tom is consistently up there above 90%, whereas both Chanakinchi and Camper are in the 70% area, that's really good news. Louis Welch in the second Alpine also at 100%. So the Alpine drivers having a great time of it out at the front at the moment.
That might explain Chanakinchi's final lap and that little advantage he gained over Martinez. This is a very tricky circuit to maintain that ERS as well, because remember, it depletes fairly quickly with such a short track, and there's not many opportunities really where you can take advantage of it. And just on this lap, look, the gap's down to 0.3 of a second, so we might be about to see Martinez mount a bit of a challenge here.
Yeah, there's a few drivers actually in trouble when it comes to ERS. One of them is Norbert Jakob, the Ferrari driver in 9th at the moment. He's vulnerable to Jari Fit. Jari's also been dumping his own battery as well. These two have been battling hammer and tongs. Norbert was able to fend him off into turn 3 this time around, but the fact that these two are battling so much, they're going to deplete their own resources, not just in terms of battery charge, but tyre life as well. It's not going to help them in the long run, and given that they are the front two drivers on the contra strategy, you'd have thought they'd be wanting to work together right now, but Jari really putting Norberto under pressure, not wanting to give him the time of day in that regard. No temporary allegiances as far as he is concerned. Another driver who's in a little bit of trouble right now is Joshua Kozani, down in 13th. He is below 50% battery charge as well. Not a good situation to be in at this early stage of the race.
No, indeed. As I mentioned, ERS management so important here, and the McLaren driver looking under threat. I think from the Alpine behind, I am just keeping an eye on the skies because it is getting darker, and I wonder if that could spice strategy up a little bit. Pitting at the perfect time here could give you an entire haul of positions up the grid. As Tom Martinez getting very close to Akinci again with a 1/10 of a second now. And Welch as well, side by side with Camper. Welch up in the P3.
Yeah, that was a little bit of running out of room for Camper. They're stablemates, these two, but they won't want to make contact like that too many more times. Louis Welch holds his teammate at bay down towards turn 4 here, and he moves up into 3rd position. Tom Martinez now ahead of him. So nicely done. Good opportunism from Welch, who now finds himself in a podium position once again.
Indeed, there's a yellow in sector 3. I think that's Houseman, who I think might have had a spin the lap before at the final corner. He's just come into the pits once again. Is this, yeah, to retire? So, shame then for the Alfa Romeo driver. Will that cause a safety car? I imagine since he's coming to the pits, probably not. But let's see, can Martinez make more of a jump on Akinci this time round? Like an alright exit from turn 1.
Sorry, Pedreño's just lost it, and Dylan Warren couldn't avoid him. Pedreño spun on the apex of turn 1. Dylan Warren had nowhere to go and made contact with the stricken AlphaTauri, and now both of them have fallen down the order as a result. Meanwhile, further up, Samuel Bean and Camper almost losing it there on the exit of turn 3. All of a sudden, the battles have ignited here, there, and everywhere, as Norbert Jakob has been able to dispatch Jeffrey Richie. These two still going at it, 8th and 9th at the moment, but Samuel Bean up into 4th. Norbert Jakob up into 8th, and the demise of Ruben Pedreño and Dylan Warren in this race.
Yeah, and keep an eye on Louis Welch. I mean, he passed Camper 1 lap ago, and now he's right with the back of his teammate, and looks like the quicker Alpine driver, so I wonder, will they play it strategically here to have a go at the race lead, or is it going to be everyone for themselves? We're going to find out. Keep an eye on Samuel Bean as well, because he has come alive in the last couple of laps. Got past Camper and all the chaos at turn 1, and now is looking at a podium position. Let's see what he can do on that number 9.
And this is huge as well for Samuel Bean, because the 3 closest drivers to him in the championship have fallen by the wayside in one way or another in this race. Paris Burrell, he's at the very back of this DRS.
Sorry, here comes Martinez. Here comes Martinez for the lead into turn number 3, down the inside, and makes that move work. What a nice move, and he might just let his teammate through with him. This battle is not quite over. Look at Welch right on the back of Akinci. Might still have a go to the outside. It's going to be tight 3 abreast here for the lead of the race. Can Akinci get it back? He might just make this work, you know. But Martinez will fight him to the last. There's a nose ahead at the moment. And I may just stay in the lead. Here comes his teammate. Oh, this is going to be tight. Almost contact between the leading three. And wow, it's now turned into an Alpine 1-2. What a lap there if you're an Alpine fan.
I don't think this is over either, though. Chanakinchi is going to be very keen to try and get that back. Samuel Bean is right there. All of these drivers, they're within a quarter of a second of one another right now. They're so close out on circuit. You can see Samuel Bean almost bumping Chanakinchi round that final corner there. Tom Martinez has been able to build a little bit of a gap to Lewis Welch, but Welch might be in trouble from Chanakinchi behind on this run up the hill towards turn 3. We'll see. Actually, it's Tom Martinez that struggles. He had a poor run. He's going to be under pressure from his teammate, and there he goes. Around the outside, it'll be through turn 3 for Lewis Welch, but he manages it. Tom Martinez can't brake late enough, and Samuel Bean is in there with Chanakinchi as well. Tom holds them both off, and Chanakinchi almost loses the car on the run down towards turn 4. Oscar Villacampa not close enough to try and take advantage, but this is frenetic stuff. None of this safe ERS farming, DRS train stuff we usually see. This is fantastic action. Everyone wants every position they can get, and they want it now.
It's been great as well because the DRS isn't just giving us passes on the straight. We're getting passes left, right and centre, even around the middle sector, which is where you typically think the cars would play it safe. But it's been a phenomenal one. As look at that, the Aston Martin of Akinci looking at Samuel Bean once again. He wants that win back. He's really dropped down these last couple of laps, but Lewis Welch now. It's a phenomenal race up in the P1. Made a bit of a gap on his teammate, but we saw Martinez do that a lap ago, and it didn't help him. So it's still anyone's game here as we head up to turn 3 once again.
Yeah, Jeffrey Richie is going to be having a move. He's alongside Norbert Jakob as they climb the hill. And they make a little bit of contact on the straight there. Oh, that's very late on the brakes from Norbert Jakob. He almost collected Neon in the process. And now Neon's countryman, Jeffrey Richie, is going to be driving alongside him. It's a drag race down towards turn 4. Outside line in the corner for Jeffrey Richie. Norbert Jakob brakes later, washes wide at the apex. Oh, and he forces the Haas wide. Jeffrey Richie won't be too happy with that. And in fact, he's going to lose out to Sam Corby, who on those soft tyres is getting back into this race right now. He is, apart from Antoine Desaluski, who's no longer in control of his car, I don't believe. Sam Corby, the furthest back driver on soft tyres at this stage. Jari Fitz, the furthest forward driver on the mediums, and he is within 0.2 of a second of Oscar Villacampa up ahead. These mediums really coming alive for him right now. And the fact that this DRS train has remained as constant as it has is fantastic news for everyone on that medium set of tyres right now.
Yeah, agreed. Of course, when you're in the dirty air of another car behind, those tyres are going to wear out so much more quickly. And we've seen that, I think, with the top 5 soft runners starting to lose the pace a little bit. The likes of Jari Fitz working his way up. Have we got another side-by-side moment? Yes, we have. Look at Samuel Bean trying to go around the outside of Tom Martinez. The Alpine driver shutting the door for the time being, but I don't think this will be quite over yet. In fact, for this lap, it may just be Bean may to stay behind as Martinez actually tries to look on the offense there at his teammate.
It's cut and thrust. It's, you know, parry, thrust. You never know. One corner to the next. Are you going to be ahead? Are you going to be challenging for the position ahead of you? Are you going to be looking in your mirrors for the position behind? And that's the thing. If you don't manage to pull off a move, if you make an aggressive maneuver and it doesn't come off for you, you're going to leave yourself so vulnerable when everyone down to 12th position is as close as they are. As Jari Fitz has lost it. Jari Fitz, what has happened to him? I didn't see a spin. He just slowed down on the straight. He's heading into the pit lane now. And he does seem to have hot tyres, so maybe he did almost lose the car entirely. Maybe took a little bit of a trip over the gravel. Not sure about that. Both him and Sam Corby into the pit lane. Jari Fitz really crawling into the pit, so I think he might be done. Yeah, he retires from the session. Not sure what happened there for the Dutchman.
Keep an eye on the championship leader, Samuel Bean. Again, look at Tom Martinez. That was a late move. Can he make it with his teammate? Not quite. And Bean turns this into an offense, a massive attack here from the Williams driver. Doesn't quite work. It worked around turn 3. Here he comes again as we have with DRS active into turn 4. Where's Bean going to go? Fake to the outside. Goes to the inside. Little bit of contact, I think, between P2 and P3. But somehow they get away with that. That was an optimistic move for Martinez, though. Really sent it down the inside of his teammate and almost lost P2 as a result of it.
Yeah, lap 13 already. This race is flying by with all the action that we're seeing. And not only is it just action, it's very clean racing, especially from these front runners. Very few cars have come into contact with one another, and if they have, it's usually been very minor wheel bumping. It's a credit to these drivers how well they are managing to get these battles going right now. as now Neon is going to be the next driver to pull the trigger and head into the pit lane. Dylan Warren and Ruben Pedreño did it a few laps ago. Their races were compromised, so they needed the biggest undercut they could muster. Sam Corby was in the pits last lap for a fresh set of mediums. Now Neon, his teammate, joins him. So both Red Bulls on fresh medium tyres, looking to undercut the rest of the field.
Yeah, here comes Bean once again, and look at Martinez once again. Trying around the outside for the Williams driver, doesn't quite work. Martinez is going to hold him, but this looks like a much better attack from Bean. He may just get it this time. Straight line speed, key here, as we head down towards turn 4. Who's going to get it? It's going to be really tight. You know what? Bean may have been held up by the other Alpine there. There's a little bit of contact, almost ended in catastrophe. Bean somehow keeps his nose at the inside and may just get P2 if he can just hold his line here. He does, and that has been up another place into second now for the Williams man.
Yeah, Tom Martinez actually almost had that wrapped up and paid for. He'd almost completed his defense, but then thought he could move over the track and block off Samuel Bean. Samuel was still alongside him, and Tom had to really back out. Now through the final corner, this is where it gets so tricky with the pit lane entry.
Oh, look at the outside.
Lewis Welch, Samuel Bean. Villacampa! What is Villacampa doing with Chanakichi trying to overtake him on the entry to the pit lane? That is incredible stuff. It didn't pull off in the end for the Ferrari driver, but that shades of Sebastian Vettel back in China 2016 right there. As Villacampa, ever the opportunist, trying to get ahead of Chanakichi, and might have managed to do so in the pit lane as well. No, will come out just behind. And where are these guys going to come out relative to Sam Corby and Neon? Sam Corby, I think, he's ahead of them all.
He is. That's worked out really well for the Red Bull that, remember, was really slow off of the starting grid. It may just have really worked in Sam Corby's favour. He is on the lap older tyres though, but the undercut working wonders here, and that's got to scare the likes of Tom Martinez, who stayed out. The only of those soft runners to stay out. He had to, otherwise he'd have to stay behind his teammate. So yeah, but I'll tell you what, between Akini and Villacampa, I thought that was gonna end in tears, I'll be honest. Somehow great car control from the Ferrari and Villacampa, but Sam Corby could just be the underdog in this race on those mediums. Only one lap older than those that have just pitted, so keep an eye on that Red Bull, because he's got a little bit of a gap to Lewis Welch. As here comes Martinez into the pits now. This will be the real key. Where does he come in? Has it been a good enough outlap onto the medium tyres, as we would have expected? But I think he'll end up behind Corby. Corby's come across the line now, and there's a lot of cars here. This could really hurt Tom Martinez. There goes Sam Bean. There goes Neon. Is he going to even be ahead of Villacampa? It's going to be tight here with the Aston Martin of Akinci. Akinci gets ahead and he slots in between these two that were, of course, battling on their way into the pit lane. Villacampa on those warmer tyres. Thinks, oh, can I have a look down the inside here? No, not going to work. And I'll tell you what, that's going to hurt for the man that started this race in P2.
Yeah, absolutely disastrous then in terms of the strategy for Tom Martinez. That one extra lap of freshness on the mediums at the end, he's going to be hoping that's going to feel like 10 laps of extra freshness, but I just can't see a universe where that one extra lap is going to pay off for all these positions that Tom Martinez has lost as a result of pitting just a couple laps too late. He couldn't pit last lap because his teammate was also pitting on the same lap and he was right behind him. So really, the Alpines, one of them should have pitted 2 laps ago. That's Christian Sendel out to the race. Is that out of the final corner he's lost it?
It looks in safety car. Look, he's massively lost it on the end of the final corner. Put that Aston Martin into the barrier, and this now spices things up big time. Safety car is out. Likes of Jeffrey Richie here could really benefit. Did he come into the pits in time? No, not quite, but he may still get a chance into this lap. Already Ruben Pedreño coming in the AlphaTauri. It won't really help him much, I don't think, but Jeffrey Richie could get a lot of positions here, pitting under safety car.
Yeah, this could be huge for Jeffrey Richie, Norbert Jakob, Joshua Kazani, and even Paris Burrell here. We'll see how much they're going to be able to salvage their races as a result of this. Jeffrey Richie and Norbert Jakob, they were pretty happy with the way their races were going on the contra strategy. Definitely not a bad situation for them to be in. 4 drivers out of the race, effectively 5, as Antoine Desaluski is also not present in this race. Now we will see our current race leader, Jeffrey Richie, heading into the pit lane as we crest the halfway mark of this race. And one thing that this safety car does help is it helps those drivers who are struggling with ERS management as a result of all that fighting towards the end of the first stint. Tom Martinez was very, very low on battery charge. So was Neon and Lewis Welch, I believe. Samuel Bean was up at 100%. He had a big advantage that he had accrued for himself by battling smart and making sure he didn't just over-deploy his battery, and that advantage has gone out the window. So that's a shame as far as Samuel Bean's concerned. Jeffrey Richie coming out of the pits on his fresh soft tyres, and he's just about ahead of the championship leader. Jeffrey Richie is now in the pound seat to win this race, you have to feel.
Yeah, on those soft tyres. Can he go to the end on those, though? Unlikely. There will need to be another pit stop, you would imagine, in this race. And I wouldn't be surprised if this is the last safety car either. They were mentioning, what, about 10 laps or so, I think, on the softs, or just over 10 laps.
Well,
so it's going to be tight. They could pull it off, but it'll be a trick tight one.
We have just seen, the rest of the cars that just came into the pit lane, Tom Martinez, these guys, they came into the pits lap 15, 16 to get rid of their soft tyres, and those are soft tyres that had done qualifying and had started on full race fuel as well. And now we have a safety car period for at least the next couple of laps, so you're not really going to be using up your soft tyres too much in these next couple of laps. I think Jeffrey Rich and Josh, I think they're going to be okay to the end of this race on these set of soft tyres. And I'm very surprised to see that Norbert Jakob doesn't agree. He's gone for hard tyres. Paris Burrell also did go for the softs. So the 4 drivers that had the option, 3 of them chose the softs. Only Norbert Jakob went for those hards. And I think that is going to be a decision which will cripple his race.
It could be, that's for sure. I do want to thank everybody tuning into the stream. Apologies again for the lack of frame rate. We are trying to solve the problems. But just want to thank everyone for their commitment to the stream. It's been amazing commentating to you guys here for PSGL F2. And we've got a very exciting remaining half of the race to go. Once the safety car comes in, the tyre strategies are going to really play out. What can Jeffrey Richie do on those soft tyres? It's going to be very, very exciting. And will be underway, I'd imagine, fairly shortly. The last car of Dizalewski still got a little way to go, but I'd be surprised if the safety car didn't come in maybe at the end of this lap. We might get one more if the Mercedes can't close in. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, unfortunately this Mercedes is not as fast as it should be right now, as it is currently, I believe, AI controlled out there at the back of the field. So it is now going to get back in range of the safety car Snake at the end of this next straight before we get to turn 4. So that should mean that the safety car could come in at the end of this lap potentially. It's going to be touch and go, though. I wouldn't be surprised if we are going to see one more lap behind the safety car. And every lap we spend behind the safety car is great news for the soft tyre runners, but that's a little bit less good news. Safety car in this lap, it has been confirmed. Sam Corby is the one. After his disastrous start off the line, he pulled an aggressive undercut, undercutting most other drivers by about 2 laps. And it really paid off dividends for him. He leads the way. Lewis Welch in second. Jeffrey Richie there in third. What are we watching for on this restart then, Will?
Well, I think Richie's got to be the main one. On those soft tyres, can he make him work straight away? Sam Corby with that undercut, but with 5 lap older tyres than some of the runners further back, like Jeffrey Richie. We're about to go racing now. He's gone very, very early and already put a bit of a gap. Look at Richie, though, in that Haas car, already on the back of Lewis Welch's Alpine. No DRS for the first 3 laps. What's going to happen into turn 1?
Yeah, let's see. Jeffrey Richie in the Haas right there. Should be the danger man. But no one is looking that dangerous on this occasion. Of course, without that DRS to help, it's going to be hard to make any overtaking moves at this point in the race. Out at the front, Lewis Welch was getting pretty close to Sam Corby, but not really close enough. Norbert Jakob, the Hungarian on the hard tyres, is under a little bit of pressure from his teammate Viacampa for 9th position. And honestly, if there's a Ferrari pit wall, you're saying let Viacampa through in this circumstance. Well, that on those hard tyres is not going to have the pace of the rest of the field. But there is no pit wall, and I'm sure these two are just out there for blood, out there for their own glory here. And Norbert Jakob will fight tooth and nail to hold on to every single position he can.
Indeed. What could Tom Martinez do as well, obviously, with that gutting loss in the pit stops? Currently sat P8 for the man that started this race in second. He's got a little bit of work to do. Like I said, VRT Josh there on the soft tyre, so he'll be a tricky car to overtake. But after that, you've got medium runners. Sam Corby picks up a penalty, our race leader. 3-second time penalty for, I imagine that will be track extending on the final corner. That could play a part, whether he has the tyre life or not. He needs to now get a 3-second gap over Lewis Welch, who is closing in. Hasn't got DRS, but still taking advantage of a little toe that he gets on that Red Bull. Does he send it into turn 3? Nope. He'll probably try and wait as we head down into turn 4. Can he get a good exit in the Alpine? Let's see. We're running on board from the back. Let's switch that to the front camera as he gets closer and closer to the diffuser of Corby's Red Bull. Doesn't quite work here at the moment. Let's just appreciate as well, no desyncing issues, touch wood, at the moment, which bodes well for the F1 race tomorrow. But all looking good so far on the desync front.
Yeah, absolutely. For those who don't know, we are running this race using the in-game league system. It has been reported that using the in-game league system does fix a lot of the online bug issues, particularly with desync. And that is exactly what we are hoping for and what we are experiencing so far in this race. So hopefully that will continue to be good news at the back. That's Norbert Jakob and Dylan Warren. Looks like someone tried to make a move into turn 9, and that's always going to be a death sentence for at least one, maybe two drivers. Dylan Warren limping back into the pit lane. Norbert Jakob continues, but on his hard tyres, he's completely adrift. Back up at the front, though, Lewis Welch is going for it with Sam Corby. Has the inside line. Jeffrey Richie's also there. 3 wide briefly. It's Lewis Welch who has the advantage. Sam Corby trying to outdrag Jeffrey Richie. Jeffrey has the softer rear tyres, and that'll help him out in traction, but Sam Corby has lower downforce. He is going to get ahead at the end of the straight. Jeffrey Richie frustrated in third. He needs to get past Sam Corby quickly, otherwise he's going to risk losing the best laps of his fresh set of soft tyres, and he needs to be making hay while the sun is still shining in his favour.
He really does. It was a great move there from Louis Welch. Just sent one right down the inside, and there was no possible defence that could have stopped him. Corby now will have to try and recompose. He's on the same tyre strategy, but got slightly older tyres. So will he be able to stay in touch with the Alpine? He's got the DRS advantage still. That will help him defend from the house of Richie. And look at Samuel Bean as well. He's keeping an eye on this as well in the Williams car. And he'll be wanting to 7 up the inside. Might even have a look here. Let's see what the top 4 do as we approach turn number 3 for the 23rd time. Here comes Samuel Bean down the inside of Richie. Can he make that work? He might just, you know. Gets a good traction despite being on those medium tyres. We'll have the inside line as we head down to turn 4. And I think that's going to put the championship leader up into 3rd place. And heartbreak for Richie, who was looking great there for a potential podium. But it's falling from his grasp now.
Yeah, that is really not what you want. If you're the guy in amongst a sea of medium tyre runners and you're on fresh softs, you need to be moving up, not down. If you're moving down at any point, things are not going right for you. Jeffrey Richie is a race winner thus far this season. He's 7th in the driver's standings. He should be able to take this and run away with the victory, at least have a chance of doing so. Maybe in the last few laps his tyres will start to go away, but for now he should be the fastest guy out on track. He should be making all the moves, and he's not being able to do so. He's down at 50% battery charge, and Samuel Bean has 75%, so it's not even going to be easy for Jeffrey Richie to try and get past the Spaniard in 3rd at the moment. So this is really not going the way of Jeffrey Richie at this stage. The Haas driver still might be on track for a podium, as Sam Corby does have that 3-second time penalty to his name. We still got a lot of racing to go before that's all sewn up. Lewis Welch leads the way. Sam Corby 2nd, Samuel Bean 3rd, but now here comes Jeffrey Richie, and he's got a much better run than Samuel Bean, and he needs to take this position right now. Side by side they go through turn 4. He forces him a little bit wide on the exit of turn 4, but that's all fair. Now in through 5 and into 6, but Samuel Bean breaks later. Jeffrey Richie trying a switchback, but there's nothing to be found. He corrects for the oversteer and settles back down in 4th again.
That was, and I will trademark this term, Bean brilliance. Great defending through the middle sector. I'm here all night, guys. I'm here all night. But wow. Obviously, Jeffrey Richie with the better tyres at the moment, theoretically, but the championship leader showing us why he's up at the top of the table. Look at Corby, though. It looked like Welch was pulling away, but now keep an eye on that Red Bull because he's in a bit of a tow. Got DRS. The lead car, the Alpine of Welch, not with that benefit. And here comes Corby down the inside to turn 3. Look at Bean trying to have a look down the inside as well. We might just see Welch lose 2 positions in one corner, and I think he may do. Corby back into the lead. Who's going to take 2nd place, though? Jeffrey Richie watching from afar. I tell you what, onto the grass almost for the Alpine driver. Bean down the inside. Bean might go for the lead. He might try for the lead. He's on the inside of the Red Bull. Has to slot into 2nd place, but wow, what a move that was. Bean showing his intention here. Wants to make it 2 race wins in a row.
Yeah, Lewis Welch was going to be alongside Samuel Bean into the braking zone, but he had nowhere to go. He was boxed in by the race leader, Sam Corby. Now Josh Kazani, he's lost it. He's gone round in the middle sector, but let's look back up towards the front because this is where all the action is right now. Sam Corby is leading the way. That has a 3-second time penalty to his name. Samuel Bean, the driver, in 2nd at the moment. and both of them have much better battery state than Lewis Welch in third. Lewis down at 15% right now, as Josh becomes the 6th retiree from this race. Jeffrey Richie still right there with Lewis Welch as well. He should have an easier time getting past the British driver as opposed to Samuel Bean, but it's still Lewis Welch who's on the attack. Samuel Bean's on the attack as well, but he can't quite break late enough.
Look at
to
Akinci.
force Sam Corby into a defense. Chanakinchi behind. He's having a go at Neon, and he makes that stick. Good stuff from Chanakinchi, who has the highest battery charge of anyone inside the top 6.
Akinci tried to have a go on the house of Richie there as well. Might have made a little bit of contact with the side pod there, and hopefully that's not resulted in any damage, but great racing here. Corby now racing distance. Look at Samuel Bean defending from Louis Welch. It's not over for the fight for second place, that's for sure.
Absolutely it isn't. Sam Corby actually starting to build just something of a gap to Samuel Bean in second, and if Sam Corby can break DRS, this is his only chance of getting even a podium in this race. He has to try and break the DRS as quick as possible. That is why we're seeing him pushing as hard as he is on this lap. He's using so much of his ERS to try and force Samuel Bean outside of a 1 second margin, and then try and use the dirty air, try and pull away from the rest of the field and hope that Samuel Bean holds them all up. That's the only opportunity for Sam Corby to try and win this race when he has that time penalty hanging over his head. Look how close it's getting. It's almost at 1 second, and if Lewis Welch can have a go at Samuel Bean, that will quickly become 1 second. Still, just 9/10 of a second right now. It's still DRS range for Bean and Welch.
Yeah, just let's get on to the little spin coming out the final corner. He's recovered to 11th place, which Shane was turning to a fairly nice little mid-pack quiet race for Get Owned, but he's lost a few positions there and dropped now back to the rear of the field. But it's going quite well for Sam Corby. He's got one of those 3 seconds he needs. Getting out of DRS will be the first big goal, which he's now achieved. Yeah. Now he can just keep going and hope that Bean gets held up by Welch and Richie behind.
Yeah, the trouble is Corby, he's really shot his bolt. He's down at 5%. Sam Bean has 70%. That was all Corby had. He's got nothing left. He's going to get reeled straight back in by Sam Bean. He crested over a second for just a second, and then it was taken back within DRS range. Samuel Bean will easily reel him in now. Lewis Welch will be trying to hang on to the coattails of the Williams driver, but he's got to watch out in his rearview mirror for Jeffrey Richie. And there you see Sam Corby much closer now to Samuel Bean. It was a good effort from Corby. He knew he needed to get that gap right now if he was to have any chance of a podium. I respect the effort, he just didn't quite have enough.
Indeed, shame for Corby. It's been a really nice recovery drive after that poor start for the Red Bull driver. There's still several laps to go. You never know what can happen. It's still looking pretty dark in the sky. We haven't spoken at the prospect of rain for a while. You never know. Lots can change in these last 8 laps. But at the moment, it looks like Samuel Bean in the driving seat. He may be able to take this win on track, you know. Let's see what he can do over the course of the next lap or two.
Yeah, honestly, he should be able to right now. The percentage difference between himself and Sam Corby, I know I keep going on about it, but it's incredibly important in F1 2021. This is how the drivers express themselves strategically outside of the pit stop phase. And Samuel Bean has played a blinder in this one consistently. I've not seen him below 50% battery charge, I think, at any point in this race. He has just been fast without needing the crutch of that electrical energy. Here he goes for Sam Corby now. He doesn't go for it on this occasion, but you could see he really wanted to take the race lead. And with Lewis Welch and having to worry about Jeffrey Richie behind, if Bean could get past Corby, he should be able to drive off into the sunset.
Yeah, you'd think so. What if we go into turn 4 either? Will the championship leader will stay where he is. He doesn't need to make the move at the end of the day. He's not going to take anything that will risk losing a potential win and losing out on those 16 points he'll get for taking the race today. But what about in the battle for third? Louis Welch seems to have P2 under control. This is obviously, of course, after Sam Corby's penalty. But look at Richie. And, of course, our pole sitter, Chanakinchi. He is looking for that podium still. And Richie's attack, sadly, hasn't come to much in the end. Let's run on board with the Aston Martin driver as we head into turn 1 for the 30th time this evening. DRS will be open just about now as we head down into turn 3. Look at Bean going for the outside on Corby. Nice move there around turn 2. We'll have that move nice and done. Look at Akinci down the inside of Richie as well. He'll take the inside line. Bit of contact with Richie, and that's a Red Bull going off. It's Neon.
Tom Martinez, look at Tom Martinez.
Yeah.
He's getting past 3 drivers in one straight. Tom Martinez waited like a shark in the water. It's not done yet because here comes Chanakinchi. Back up is inside. Chan has good battery state. So does Tom Martinez right now, and they're still side by side. Through turn 6, it's Tom with the inside line. It's Tom with the position. But now they are a second away from the cars ahead. Can they close back in on those guys? They should be able to. They're only just outside of DRS range, and if they can do so, maybe it's still a podium for these guys. Maybe they can even try and upset Lewis Welch, who is really starting to struggle with his own battery as well. Samuel Bean leads the way. He's imperious out at the front, and he is driving a fantastic race here. Sam Corby still holding on in second, and I'm seeing raindrops.
I told you it was coming. We have a few raindrops now. You can look, I'm running on board with Martinez. You can see them on that Alpine. 5 laps to go. Will it be enough, though, for the cars to come in for intermediates? Because that could add another twist in this one.
They're struggling already. Look, did you see Tom Martinez on the exit of turn 3? Jeffrey Richie's just lost out on a couple of positions. He also made a mistake under traction. It's getting greasy. It's getting slippery already. I don't think any of these drivers will be able to make it to the end on these sets of tyres. It's not quite intermediate conditions yet, but it's very quickly getting there.
Yeah, the rain is coming down really quickly. Remember, like an update to the game a couple of years ago meant that the rain would no longer come down at a linear rate. It could come down slowly. It could absolutely pummel it down in the space of a lap or two, and this could be crucial for the lead of the race. Samuel Bean 7/10 out up at front at the moment, but we could see drama right to the last lap here. Can everyone keep it on the track? Anybody could win this now at this stage. Anybody could come out on top. I'm incredibly excited for the end of this one, if you can't tell.
Yeah, and yeah, absolutely, as you should be, as am I, as is everyone watching, I'm sure, as well. Sam Corby just got incredibly deep there into turn 3, really struggling on the brakes, and that's going to give Louis Welch a chance to get past him on track.
Oh,
rain having initially come down pretty heavily, and it's not getting to intermediate tire conditions just yet.
Sorry, it's claimed its first victim. Norberto, without a front wing, went round at turn 1, and that weekend for the Ferrari driver, sadly going from bad to worse, and that'll be him done for today. Samuel Bean, though, mastering these conditions perfectly. Look at Corby, though. He's really losing out to Welch, who might have a go in the next lap or two. But does he want to risk it, knowing that Corby has a penalty? Is it worth starting one down the inside when the win now seems a fair way off? It's such a tricky decision as who was that? Yeah, Corby.
That was Corby into the wall. He just about kept it out, and somehow he didn't even lose a position in the process. Lewis Welch wasn't close enough to try and capitalize. Sam Corby with what is absolute...
Yeah, it was phenomenal. And here comes Louis Welch into P2.
On the run towards turn 3, Corby can't break. To third, Tom Martinez all over his case. Is Chanakinchi still there? Villacampa still there, but Villacampa, like Corby, has a 3-second time penalty to his name. Now the rain is still coming down. It's getting tougher and tougher for these drivers, but the intermediate tyre conditions haven't come as quickly as I thought they might. We're just about to get there, I think. But even if it's just 1.5 laps at the end of this race where it's full intermediate conditions, you still have to come into the pit lane. You'll lose so much time and risk losing the race entirely if you stay out on dries when you need to be on the inters.
Such a tricky decision for those up front. Corby really struggling now. Will he maybe make the gamble? No, thinks better of it. Oh, and that was Martinez with a big twitch. Manages to save it, thankfully, for the Alpine driver, but could put him under pressure from Chanakinchi in P5. As Leon gets another penalty now. The penalties start to come in thick and fast as we approach the end of this race. Do you pit? That is the question. It's a short lap. You could gain that time back if it really starts to come down. And you can see the track is very, very wet now. And drivers taking it very carefully as Corby runs wide. This could present an opportunity for Martinez. Let's see what he decides to do. DRS still open as long as you have these dry tyres on, and it's not been disabled. How they have it on the outside, it's going to be ambitious from the Alpine driver, though he'll get that position at the end of the race anyway. Corby, though, runs wide. Could it present an opportunity for Martinez? Not on this lap. The Red Bull will stay ahead. That was the Aston Martin getting all out of shape and running very well. It was Chanakinchi. Does he keep it in a straight line? Yes, he does. That was scary stuff.
Another fantastic save, this time from Chanakinchi. And Tom Martinez getting bottled up behind Sam Corby, failing to get past him. He's going to beat him at the end of the race, but he's going to struggle to get up there with the front runners. Tom Martinez is pitting. He's going into the pit lane, and Chanakinchi, I think, hit him. I think he hit Tom Martinez on the entry to the pit lane.
There's a Red
Bull making a late decision. That's Neon. He goes into the pit lane as well. So it's Tom Martinez and Neon, both of them into the pit lane for intermediate tyres. Jeffrey Richie went in a lap ago. Norbert Jakab also went in a couple laps ago. We'll see. Is there going to be enough of a switchover now for this decision to work out for Tom Martinez? Neon is done after that incident. He's taking off that front wing and he's taking himself out of the race. But now, has Tom Martinez played a blinder, or has he thrown it all away?
Oh, I don't think Akinci got into the pits, even though he didn't. I think he tried to follow him in, made contact with the back of Martinez's Alpine. And is there now damage on that car, is the question. And with only 2 laps to go, what can Martinez do on those intermediate tyres? It's going to be really tight here if he can get around. He's got a long way to go, but he is flying. This could be incredibly important for Tom Martinez. If he can pull this off, well, I can see the YouTube video now. He'll be very, very happy with the clickbait he can get on that. But currently, Samuel Bean in the lead. He's got 1 more lap to go once he's finished these 2 corners. But look, he's really struggling. Can he keep it on track? It's going to be so tight. Martinez is absolutely flying already, almost on the back of the Aston Martin of Akinci. I think Samuel Bean has this, but it's going to be so close now.
Yeah, Tom Martinez, he's gained about 4 seconds, maybe 5, on the race leader since he came out of the pit lane. That delta is only going to increase, but we're on to the final lap of the race. I don't think there's enough time for Tom Martinez. The lap is too short here in Austria. At any other track, a lap or 2 would have been long enough, but here at Austria, maybe not. Especially when you consider that so much of this track is in a straight line, flat out as well. So the drivers aren't going to have to worry. It's not going to make a difference if they're on the wrong tyres in those parts of the track. Tom Martinez gaining time. He gains a full 1.5 seconds, make that 2 seconds in turn 3. Now he sees Paris Burrell up ahead. This is the easiest AI you'll ever see, as Tom Martinez is going to breeze past him on the run down in towards turn 4. But back up at the front, Samuel Bean's really struggling. Lewis Welch is right there with him now as well. So one Alpine is flying on inters, the other one is doing it on mediums. Look at Tom Martinez, he's getting closer. It's just 7 seconds. He gets past Pedreño. He might have this, you know. As we get towards the end of this race, they're crawling at the front. It's 5.5 seconds. It's 5 seconds. They make contact at the front. Lewis Welch into the back of Samuel Bean as they go into the final couple of corners. Tom Martinez doesn't look like he's going to be close enough. It's going to be a drag race between Lewis Welch and Samuel Bean, but it's Lewis Welch who takes it in the final couple of corners. Lewis Welch takes the race victory.
Whoa.
Samuel Bean comes home second. Tom Martinez manages third in the end. He didn't quite have enough time, but 1 more corner and he could have taken the race win. Sam Corby with that penalty down into 4th. Then Jeffrey Richie will be happy with 5th. But how about that for an end to a race?
That was phenomenal. Could there maybe be a steward's inquiry about Louis Welch's pass on Bean on the last corner? Who knows? Bean was actually spun across the line, was collected, I think, by one of the other cars that passed him. Thankfully, everyone okay. It's a game, thankfully. But Martinez benefiting from Corby and Richie's penalties. That puts him up into the podium. So, in the end, no net loss for Martinez, who was due to finish 3rd anyway. But what a final lap for him. What a race in general. That was fantastic. I'm looking forward to talking to some of the drivers on this one now.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm sure that a lot of them are going to have some stories to tell. And I tell you what, that was just incredible. That was Brazil 2008 watching, you know, Hamilton catching Glock, all that sort of thing. I was Tom Martinez catching the race leaders. And when they came together, I thought he was going to have it, but he just ran out of time. But Lewis Welch, in controversial fashion, takes the race win, a bump and pass on Samuel Bean for it. And yeah, as you said, there may well be some stewards' inquiries about that one. You can bet that both of them will do everything they can to claim the race win here in this race. What an introduction to the F2 tier of PC for us as well. That was a whole lot of fun to commentate on. One of the funnest races I've ever had to commentate on, especially right at the end there. And I've got to ask you quickly here, who do you think you're going to give your driver of the day to? Honestly, I don't envy you having to make this decision.
It's a tricky one. I've got to give it to Martinez at the end of the day. That last lap was just something else. And after struggling, I think, on the start, Sam Corby's another one I could put up there after a difficult start to the race. But after Martinez lost out in the pit stops, I think, yeah, that battle back up to third, wow. Incredible stuff. The Bean Brilliance didn't quite have it to the end. But wow. Just what a race. I'm speechless after that one. That was, yeah, phenomenal.
Yeah, really, really great stuff. I got to say, if I'm going for my driver of the day, I think I'm giving it to Samuel Bean, because at the end, there's question marks over the legality of the final overtake against him. He might have won the race if that hadn't happened. He probably would have done. He started from 7th, but throughout the race, he was just so good. He was so methodical and efficient with using his resources, with making up those positions, with still being absolutely rapid out there on the circuit as well. And of course, Sam Corby, with the genius strategy, going for that couple of lap undercut, really paid off dividends as well. So he gets an honorable mention. But I'm saying Samuel Bean for my driver of the day. And it's always a bit boring to say the championship leader for driver of the day, but given the race, you know, there's a million candidates we could have gone for.
Yeah, given his racing today, I stand by that as well. Samuel Bean did a phenomenal job. And yeah, hopefully we get a chance to talk to him a little bit later on as well. Shall we head over to driver interviews?
Yeah, why not? Let's see if we can get any drivers for interviews here.
See, I'm not seeing anybody waiting at the moment. Hopefully we'll see a few drivers pop in just a moment.
Yeah, we'll see. I'd love to speak to Lewis Welch. Everyone on the podium I'd love to speak to. Tom Martinez as well. His heart must be pumping after that finish of the race as well. I think that all of their hearts must be pumping. We'll see. I've just thrown out the signal and seeing if any drivers want to head over to the waiting room or to get in for a interview here, but not sure about that one for now. We'll just take a few more minutes then to bask in the glory of that race. And why don't you let us know in chat as well who you think was driver of the day, who you'd give your awards to in that regard. And thank you as well for bearing with us with the frame rate issues we're having with the stream. Sorry we couldn't really do anything about them, but we hope the quality of the racing was enough to keep you guys entertained regardless.
Yeah, it was, wow, just what a race in general. And that last lap, I think I mentioned rain at the very start when we first moved into the kind of dark clouds when we saw Austria for the first time. And what a time for it to come. That was perfect. One more lap, that could have been Martinez's win. But in the end, great job to everybody out there. I think you finished. Some brilliant racing on show from everyone as well.
Absolutely. We do now have one driver sitting in the waiting room ready for an interview, and that's going to be Jeffrey Richie. So why don't we see if we can drag him on in to the commentary box and have a word with him. I'll see if I am able to do that right now. Indeed I am. Hello, Jeffrey Richie. How are you doing?
Cool. Let's see. I'm doing all right.
Cool, yeah. So that race, obviously, a bit of a race of up and downs for yourself. Let's go all the way back to qualifying. How were you feeling after what went on in qualifying?
Well, the quality was very close. I actually invalidated on the last corner, and I would have had a .287, so that would have put me P8, I believe.
Yeah.
So actually, I kind of got lucky, I guess, that I invalidated because, I'd rather be P15 than P8. Because what I wanted to do is mediums to the rain, but the rain came very late.
Mm-hmm. So how much of an indication did you have of that rain? Did you always know that there was going to be rain coming? And by the sounds of it, it sounded like you guys thought it would all be coming a little bit earlier than it was.
Yeah, we definitely thought it was going to come around like lap 20, 25, but it came like 33, which kind of messed up the strategy, as I just had no tire wear left on the sauce when the rain started to come. So then I just tried to try to get on the intermediates since I had nothing to lose, and I was catching everybody by like 7 seconds a lap, but it was one lap too late.
Yeah.
If the rain came out one lap earlier, I think that could have been definitely a podium and potential win.
Absolutely. Will, any further questions from you on this one?
I think you covered all the bases there, mate. But yeah, I mean, I just want to congratulate you anyway for giving us some fantastic racing today. Well done, Jeffrey. You smashed it. Well done.
Thanks.
All right, and with that, it doesn't look like we're going to be having any other driver interviews for today. So thank you, Jeffrey, for being the one to join us here. And thank you all very, very much for watching and for bearing with us. As I mentioned, from yourself, Will, any parting words before we go offline?
Just want to say a big thank you again to everyone in the chat. I'm reiterating what Aladar's already said, but yeah, for putting up with the issues with the stream today. Apologies again from all of us here for those. Not much, sadly, we could do midstream about it, and we will try and get those fixed for next week's broadcast. And of course, for the race tomorrow. But yeah, it's going to be exciting. Tune in for PSGL, the main F1 race around Austria, tomorrow evening. It's going to be a very exciting one, and I'll see you over there very, very soon.